Hello, Bettine. It's great to finally see you in person, or not in person.
Well, I know that's the way things are going these days, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
After you.
Just before we start, I'd just like to know a little bit more about what you do and how you really run your business.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Bettine Pellant and I am CEO of Picon, which stands for the Printing Industry Confederation. So we are a trade association for suppliers and manufacturers to the print industry. I've been in this position now for probably, I think it's about 6 or 7 years, but I've actually worked for Picon for close to 13, I think it is now, maybe even more actually. My background has been in print in various different roles. But I'm by no means an expert, but I have been around the print industry for dare one say a few years. So tell me a little bit about you, because obviously this is the first time I've actually seen you.
Well, I'm part of my school's publications committee. I actually work as a training and business manager, and I've had that role since I was in, I think it was midway through year 8, so it's been a good couple of years. What we basically do is that I have to raise around 3.5 grand a year that we use, which we use to print a full printed version of our magazine, end of year magazine. But in addition to this, we have 3 termly online magazines which we publish on our school website, which anybody can access. So we have many different ways of making this money, some of which I put on my business plan and my marketing strategy in previous applications for Shine. These include our very successful tuck shop, which we sell sweets, and we've been selling drinks, which we take advantage of things like sports days, and in the summer we sell like cold frozen drinks. I remember spending nearly half a term making all Christmas lights in the lead up for Christmas to attend a Christmas fair I think it was year 9. It took, I think it was every lunchtime for about 5 weeks I was in there for, but it went well. We raised a lot of money for it. So I also I try to help bring new members into the committee, and we help train them. So I've mentored multiple people. And because I've been in for about 5-6 years in the committee, I'm starting to see how my mentors are getting on, and now they're mentoring new people. So I'm now one of the older members in the committee. So it's really good to look back and see how other people have been doing.
It's just like a company from what you've been talking about. It's a business having to raise those funds. I know that was one of the things, because I'm also and have been a judge of the Shine School Media Awards, and I remember reading about all the different things that you do in order to raise that 3,500, which is very commendable, I have to say.
Thank you. Well, maybe I should start with questions now. So. Well, you've already talked about how we produce a termly magazine, The Word, which is published online. And what we strive to do is produce a printed copy, which we distribute free to all members of staff. And we try to use this to act as a souvenir of our year at school. And my question is, as more and more content moves online, what do you see as the future for printed publications? And do you think that people will still value having a physical copy? In addition to this, do you see a future for printing moving further online?
I think the short answer is a very good question, and it's been asked in lots of different areas of business. The short answer is yes. I do believe that people will continue to value physical material, and research backs that up. A survey that was carried out, I think in 2019, showed that 61% of consumers believed that print was most enjoyable to read. 61% of consumers felt that it was better to read print as a printed copy of magazines. 54%, I think, said newspapers, and the highest number was 69%, which was books. And I think you probably have read quite recently that I think it was over 202 million books were sold last year. So this kind of backs it up. But I also think there are other reasons why print is so important, and why the sort of the physical and tactile reasons for it. So it will it'll stand the test of time. Technology is continually evolving, which is how it should be. Now, back before you were born, back in the 1970s, there was a home recording technology called Betamax, and then it got replaced and superseded by VHS. Then we went to DVDs. Then we've gone to recording devices such as Sky, and of course now we've got things like Netflix, streaming services like Netflix and Amazon. Now this is all great unless you find an old VHS tape in your loft, as I did, and then you suddenly realize that you no longer have the equipment to play it on. So I think that the lovely thing about print is it doesn't need any equipment, doesn't need any software. I think also people are coming round to, they're being much more aware, I think, of sustainability. Obviously programs like Blue Planet, and so everyone's looking how they can be green, and therefore I think that's one of the reasons why, as paper is sustainable and is renewable, it's one of the reasons why I think it will continue to be will be something that people will value. I think also at the moment, this word unprecedented is being used all the time, but these are unprecedented times. We're spending a lot of time in front of screens. You're doing your homeschooling, I'm doing work, then in the evenings I'm sure we're doing quizzes or you're chatting to family. And digital overload, I think is going to be, well, I think it's a, shall we say, I think it's a problem at the moment, and I think will continue to be. So I think things, sort of analog tools such as print, I think they help relax the mind, they help you make space for problem solving, and I think being able to come up with new ideas. So I'm not saying that digital communication doesn't have its place, you know, whether it's a newsletter or a magazine or a website, but I think it's about choosing the correct medium for whatever type of things that your communication. I think it's a matter of combining the two, as you've done. So 3 times a year you have your online newsletter, and then you combine that in a lovely souvenir hard copy magazine, which I think is good. And I think as far as businesses are concerned, that's what a lot of people are doing, because they're mixing their digital marketing with real marketing. So I hope that answers the question a bit.
Yeah, it was really interesting seeing your opinion and talking about that. And I do agree with the fact that we are spending a lot of time on screens at the moment. And I know I've got days where I'm at the screen for 5-6 hours a day. And then afterwards, it's just nice to take a break, maybe read a book, or just maybe do a bit of homework where you're taking yourself away from the screen and just concentrating on different things, I say.
Yes.
Well, I'll move on to the next question. So this year, as everyone knows, it's been really hard to raise funds because we've been in a pandemic. What advice do you have which would enable us to adjust our own business strategy to raise these funds? Have you got any ways in which we could improve?
Well, I was looking, obviously things like the tuck shop that that you spoke about earlier, you're not able to do that until you're back at school and having those kind of events. But I think I remember that you do a lot of personalised gifts. I think a lot of businesses have been pivoting online, you know, whether that's your local fish and chip shop that suddenly has got a Facebook page and you can order your fish and chips and go down and pick it up. So I think that there are definitely possibilities of all of those personalized gifts that you've been doing around things like, I don't know whether you were thinking about doing anything for Valentine's Day. It's a bit close, I suppose, next week, but you know, I think you were doing things for Mother's Day and Father's Day, etc. So I think the opportunity also of online that it could give you a larger audience as opposed to just your, you know, within the school community. I think also, and I'm not sure whether you do get involved with sponsorship or adverts. I think I saw one advert in the copy of the Word, but I think that's an area that you could explore more. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of local businesses who would relish the opportunity of being put in front of your kind of audience. And you might be able to do something on sort of the advertorial side, so that it's something that, I don't know, I'm presuming you know, in the old days you went on school trips, so there was a coach company that took you there. So there may be, as part of one of your stories about going on one of these trips or going, that you then involve them in the piece, and then obviously that gives them an opportunity of being able to contribute as well. So I think, whereas you don't obviously want the whole magazine to be full of adverts, I think there's probably some room there for targeted advertisements and advertorial to give you them, you know, to give you some more funds. That's the way that I would suggest that maybe that would be worth looking at.
That's really good. What we've been trying to do this year is that I've been trying to. Some students have talked to me and sent emails to me about ways which they would like to help us and also help them by selling things. So I had a student in the year below me. He emailed the leader of our publications committee. He forwarded it to me, and it was a way in which we could help him advertise his product, which was a contactless card, which you could use. Let's say if you wanted to give someone your details or your email address, you could just tap it on the back of their card, and it would automatically do everything.
Wow.
So it was really good being able to speak to him and be able to look at his idea, and yet we weren't able to help him sell it because it coincided with the shutting of the school, so just before. So we weren't able to help him there, but we've been able to get him advertisements in our magazines to help promote his business. So pardon?
No, you carry on.
Okay, it's fine. So I've got my next question is how has Picon and its members changed their business strategy as a result of COVID-19? So
Okay, well, we're quite an unusual business model as a trade association because we've been virtual since 2008. So all the Picon team work from home. We used to have offices down in Surrey. We sold those and decided that actually the money that we were saving by not having a physical building, we would put back into the organisation and therefore have benefits for our members, because that's obviously what we're here for. So from that point of view, we didn't have to change so much because we were all quite used to working from home, lucky enough to have an office as I have here, and not working off the kitchen sink, off the kitchen table, as a lot of people are having to do at the moment. But one of the things that we did have to change is how we communicate with our members. So in a normal year, we are organising probably between 20 and 25 events. Now, these can be dinners, they can be lunches, meetings, golf days, but all sort of physical events. And obviously we couldn't do those last year. So we quickly had to move to online platforms such as Zoom, and we did some webinars as well. And also we produce a newsletter, and last year we printed it as well as a PDF version, because of course a lot of people are working from home and therefore couldn't receive it. So we haven't had to change too much, but I thought probably maybe some comments of some of our members might be useful of what they've been doing. So I know that a lot of them are using Zoom far more for their business meetings. In the past they would have got in the car and driven to a customer site, and now they're doing a lot of their first initial sales meetings on Zoom. Way back in, I think it was August, we got in touch with a top cameraman and asked him to put together a short video showing our members how they could better use their iPhones or any sort of digital recording device to record the demonstrations on their equipment, because obviously in pre-COVID, they would have, maybe the customer would have come to them, to their demonstration suite in their offices, or also they would have been showing their equipment at a major international trade show. So obviously that didn't happen. So that was something that a lot of people were doing. Obviously increased use of social media, LinkedIn. We put together a couple of workshops helping our members use such things as LinkedIn to help. And I think also a lot of our members are now looking at their working practices. They're looking at how much property they have that they either own or they rent, the office space, because I think for quite a lot of them, working from home will be the new normal, that not everyone's going to go back into the office Monday through Friday. So I think there's a lot that they're looking at is to probably reduce the amount of space that they've of office space that they need at the moment. So I think that's something that that members have been doing as a result of obviously this the coronavirus.
I'll also talk a little bit about our committee, because we've also moved online, because from the start of our year, our school put us in different bubbles. So our committee has members from year 7 up to year 13. So to combat this, we changed everything onto Microsoft Teams. So we've been having regular Teams meetings. And we've also been, there's some members of our committee which are really good with tech, and they've been trying to improve because we use Adobe InDesign to put our stuff into, to create our actual magazine. So we've been trying to do that from home. And it was really great because on a meeting recently, one of our members has actually found a way to help with new shortcuts and how to improve doing it online. So I think that despite us not being able to see each other and share comments in person, I think it's really great how we've adapted and how we've changed because I would never have done any of my schoolwork, any of my publications work from home. I'd always gone in and I was sat during lunch times. Whereas now, with the help of them, I've been able to do most of my stuff from home, and it's made everything a lot easier. So I think there's advantages and disadvantages of moving online.
Definitely. I mean, I think, one doesn't really want to have a pandemic to cause all of these changes, but it has made us all look differently at the way that we work, and I think that's a good thing. I think from lots of different reasons, saving costs in some cases, saving travel, helping to be more sustainable, all of these sorts of things I think are going to be the good things that come out of this. And I think also, would you say you've got a better sense of community within your committee because of this, or did you have a good sense of community when you were meeting in person?
I think it's quite hard to beat the atmosphere of when you're in person and you can talk and chat with your mates, which you may have not seen.
Yeah.
But I also think that by going on Teams, it's also creating a sense of community because we've got to depend and trust each other more now, because we have to really, let's say I don't know how to do something, I'll WhatsApp one of my friends to ask their opinion or try and help them improve my article. And it's also great because I think it's brought us together as a community, as you said, is that the leader of our publications, who's a teacher in our tech department, has really been able to help lift our spirits during this time. We have this every single meeting asks us what we're having for lunch and what we're having for dinner, just to create a conversation to make it so maybe if we haven't seen anybody for the last week, or maybe we've just been slaving away at homework, it really creates a change from what we're normally doing. So I think our school, well, I can't speak for every committee, but ours is really, I believe that our community is, as a community, we've improved. And I believe I trust every member of my community now, to deliver the best possible articles and put the most effort in as possible. Because if you can do it from home, then you can do anything, I think.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think that I've heard from businesses who obviously had to change the way they worked last year, and I know one particular started a coffee morning on I think it was on a Wednesday. They allocated for all the staff to stop whatever they were doing for half an hour, and then different people were picked, and they were telling them about what they'd been doing, because obviously some staff were furloughed and therefore at home and taking the advantage of the nice weather that we had last summer, and doing things in the garden, and they would record it. So if there were engineers out on the road who couldn't necessarily take part at that point, then they at least could then watch it on the internal intranet. So there are lots of people who are doing things, and I think it's so important to keep groups together, whether it's in school or in businesses. So
that's great. I'll just move on to the next question. So do you consider the aftermath of COVID-19 or Brexit to be the greater challenge to our industry over the next 10 years?
Wow. If only I had a crystal ball. I would say at the moment, Isaac, that's probably difficult to answer. We did actually, the first week we were back in January, we did send out a short survey to our members to find out the implications of both Brexit and this third lockdown. Quite a lot of people said it was too soon because, a lot of companies didn't go back to work till that first Monday, which I think was the 5th or 6th of January. But within our membership, we had both importers and exporters. And obviously Brexit has had an effect on both of those, with the increase in documentation and various duties. I think that at the moment right now, and you've probably seen reports about the problems in Northern Ireland with, fresh food not getting through, and I'm constantly getting emails from members who are looking at the sort of the procedures. Obviously the deal was only struck, I think, was it Christmas Eve? So that there's still a lot of work going on in the background with government and the Treasury as well, who are sorting out the sort of the procedures and the operational side of all of this. So at this stage, I couldn't say, but I think also it's worth thinking about some of the other challenges, I think, that our industry and other industries are going to have. The pandemic has, I think, forced probably a lot more people to go and do their shopping online. I think there will obviously be, when we can go back into shops, lots of people will go back because there's nothing better than having a good old browse around a shop. But for the things that what you want, you're just, the staples, then I think you're going to continue getting those delivered. So so the packaging industry has fared, I'm not saying they're doing fantastically, but they fared well during the pandemic, or certain areas of the of the packaging industry. So I think they will continue to do that. But I think one of the things also is that we're hearing that quite a few print managers, who are companies that actually look to going out to end user printers to say, right, print me the Argos catalogue or print me this. A lot of that has in the past been done abroad. And I think, and a lot of that's now coming back. And I think it's a combination of that if this work was carried out in Europe, now because of the increased documentation that's necessary, then there's some delays there. And also I think if you're also sourcing things from possibly the Far East, then there is some supply chain problems. So I think as part of this, a lot of both Brexit and the pandemic, I think a lot of companies are looking at where they source their either their components, or if they're an end user, where they actually source their goods. What I think is probably is the pandemic has made businesses look at how they work, and Brexit will make them look at where the work is for them, where their customers are going to be. Now, I've lived here since I was 3 years old, but actually I'm Dutch. So as you can imagine, I wanted to stay in the EU. But, now that we're out and we've made that decision, I do think that there are opportunities for business, not just the printing industry, but I think a lot of other businesses. I think, but we talked about challenges. I think the other challenges that our industry will go through in the next probably 5 to 10 years, maybe even sooner, actually, because I think what the pandemic has done has brought technology to the fore and forced people to adopt new ways of working. So automation, I think, is something that will be more prevalent within our industry. Artificial intelligence will be more commonplace, augmented reality as well being used, and Industry 4.0 is a challenge as well, when you're trying to bring different types of equipment and link them together to make a much more seamless process. There are going to be challenges, I think, with sustainability, looking at a life cycle of a product. This isn't just within the print industry, but others, and what happens when it's no longer needed. I did notice something which made me laugh, is that I think it's Lego is trying to repurpose the bricks that are used. I mean, I think a lot of people pass them on to sons and daughters anyway, but that's the sort of thing I think is the life cycle of a product. Using sustainable materials, not just paper, but I think looking at energy sources, things like wind, hydropower. I think these will all be part of the challenges that we as an industry will have in the next 10 years, and I think others as well.
That's a great response, a really good response. I just have one last question. So in recent weeks and recent months, online content providers such as, like, say, Twitter and Facebook have taken the the decision to censor certain content, which may, let's say, incite violence or spread false information. To what extent do you feel that this is a principle that the printed media should also follow?
Ooh, I think this is probably a question best answered by a journalist. But in my opinion, I don't think that the print media will be censored. I think that there are bodies in place to make sure that this doesn't happen. You may remember there's been some cases against illegal activities by some newspapers with phone hacking and also libel cases as well. So I think that the way that I kind of think about it is that print media tends to be a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, maybe considered, that people take the time to write an article. I mean, you know this from your magazine. Online, Twitter, and we know this from the former president, Donald Trump, was that it tends to be sort of shooting from the hip. And once it's out there, it's, you can't withdraw it, as we know. I'm not saying that the press should, I think there should always be checks and balances with anything. I think we're quite lucky, obviously, in most of the Western world, is that we do have freedom of the press. I appreciate that's not always the case in some countries, but I think it's all about trust, and I think that people trust print possibly more than digital. But it's interesting. I believe, Isaac, have you been to Stationers' Hall? I believe you went. Not obviously, we didn't have the ceremony last year, but I believe you were there in 2019, weren't you?
Yes, I think I was there 2018 and 2019. Yeah,
fair enough. Well, obviously, the hall is closed at the moment, but Stationers are still putting on quite a few events, and there's one, in fact, that I'm going to in 2 weeks' time, and it's all about trust in the media, which I thought was an interesting one. Who knows, maybe after that, I would have probably been able to answer the question a bit better. But I think it is something that has to be borne in mind. I think that there are some people who feel that companies like, any of the big giants, Google and Amazon, etc., have too much power. I think that's probably something that time will tell, really, what happens there, but I think it's a very interesting question. So
okay, it's a great response, and I agree with everything you said. It's really interesting. It's been amazing speaking to you and getting for you to answer these questions. I got these from, some of them I got for myself, and some of them I asked some of my friends because they also wanted to ask some questions. So it's been really great in the way you've answered all these questions to the best possible way. Do you have any questions for me, or?
Well, I was just going to say, how you're getting on with when's you got your next publication date?
Well, we've just finished producing our January magazine. It went out earlier this month. So in there I produced an article which I was interviewing, or it was a virtual interview of a former student who's now gone into a football academy.
Oh wow!
So that's one of the articles that I was doing. Our next article is our next magazine is coming out sometime in Easter, and after that we'll be having our end of year magazine. So we're trying at the moment. We're just trying to put forward some articles in order to bulk the magazine up, because it's obviously there's not been as much to talk about. So especially during last year when we were in lockdown, it was a lot harder to find stuff to speak about. So I remember those people that spoke about their walks in the park every week, and what they saw and how they felt about it. And it was really because we changed the outlook of our magazine, because previously it was more, okay, I've gone to Germany on a history trip and now I've spoken about it, this is what I did, and there we go. But now we're getting more in personal articles, which I believe are more hard hitting. I think would improve our magazine, as well as those that are just documenting what goes on in our school. Yeah, that's
Oh no, that sounds great. And how's the fundraising going?
Well, it's obviously been difficult. We've not been able to do a tuck shop. We haven't been able to sell these things because our school, I think the pandemic's got the better of us there. But I have been trying to get advertisements. So as I said previously, we've been speaking with other students in the school, some who want to raise a bit of money, some who have really good ideas. So the guy who I was talking about previously, who was making these contactless cards, he was making them himself on on a 3D printer he has at home.
Oh,
So with him and a couple of friends would make. So they designed this. They'd made prototypes. They'd improved it before they came, and they had a YouTube video documenting this before they came to me with it. So it was really good being able to take these ideas which have just come from members of our school community and being able to help improve them by advertising it for them or helping them sell it. We haven't been able to help them sell it yet, but I feel like when we get back to school, we'll make sure that we have some way of getting wider exposure for what he's doing, because it's a really great idea.
that's wonderful. Oh no, well, good luck to you. So it's really been a pleasure to meet you. I look forward to hopefully seeing you at the Shine School Media Awards, which hopefully will be in person this year, as opposed to a virtual ceremony. But if not, then possibly the next year. And yeah, it's been really good to talk to you, Isaac. So thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.